In today's episode of the Third Spring, we have our certified personal trainer answer 3 questions on weight loss that are frequently asked by women. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the certified personal trainer is me, yours truly. I recently got my personal trainer certification from the National Council on Strength and Fitness, and that means your girl can now work as a trainer if I decide to go down that path. While studying for the certification, I kept having eureka moments when I discovered sports and nutrition science knowledge that can answer many of my burning questions on weight loss. I know many ladies out there have the same questions as me, and I can't wait to share my discovery with you in today's episode. Now let's dive into the first commonly asked question on weight loss: how to lose fat while respecting traditional Asian diets and not cutting out rice and noodles. Oof, I love this question. I myself have so many favorite dishes that are heavy in carb, like char kway teow, chicken rice, and banh mian. But well, to lose fat, the basic principle is to be in calorie deficit. So technically, you don't have to give up on specific types of food, as long as the total energy you consume from food and drinks is less than what your body uses. Before I get cancelled, I want to clarify that if we look beyond fat loss, what you eat has other major health implications, such as diabetes, heart disease, and cancer risks. Loading your daily diet with highly processed food and refined carbohydrates has huge repercussions on your health. Not to forget, some food also makes you more miserable than others, making the whole weight loss journey 10 times harder. And that can be a topic for another day. But to lose fat, strictly speaking, it is not about what you eat, but how much you eat compared to how much energy you use. That's why the intermittent fasting and keto diet can be so effective in weight loss. In intermittent fasting, you have a restricted time window in a day to eat. And guess what? That helps many people eat less. In the keto diet, you essentially eat almost no carb at all. That means cutting out a bunch of food, making it more likely that you will eat less. In addition, eating protein-rich food also makes you satiated for longer, lessening the desire to eat. Now, the keto diet can also help your body burn lots of fat for fuel, which accelerates the fat loss process. But if you eat more than what you need, even with a keto diet, it is like adding water to a leaking bucket. You might not lose fat after all. Now back to the original question. Completely moving away from traditional Asian diets and cutting out carb dishes can be difficult to implement, and I'm sure it can make you feel so demoralized. If that's the case, it is not going to be sustainable. If you love your rice, noodles, chapati, embrace them. The key is to eat a bit less than what your body needs, so that it has the opportunity to tap into the fat storage. Alright, let's move on to the second commonly asked question on weight loss. If I eat out often, how to tell which part of my diet is not helping me lose weight? This question hits home so closely because I eat out all the time. I've come to realize that the answer is calorie counting. I used to hate calorie counting. I associated it with unhealthy obsession with weights, but I have now come to understand that if I want clear and quantifiable progress, I got to measure stuff. That does not mean we have to calorie count every meal for the rest of our lives. What I find helpful is to use a calorie tracking app to track just 1 week of my regular diet. I myself eat out often, and I use the inbuilt AI tool to have the photo of the food analyzed for macronutrients and calorie content. I only have experience with MyFitnessPal and it does the job. While it's not 100% accurate, it is good enough to establish a baseline on how much energy we are getting from food and drinks in a typical day. It usually also has a breakdown of how much of that energy comes from protein, fat, and carbohydrate. Next, we can make use of some online calculators to estimate our daily calorie budget based on our age, gender, weight, height, and how active we are. I'll link a few in the description. Suppose our friend Jane is a somewhat active 30-year-old lady who weighs 60 kg and is 160 cm tall. Using the Health Hub calculator, she's recommended to consume around 1,600 calories a day to lose weight. Based on the health guideline on macronutrients, which I will detail in the description, Jane figures out she should eat 60 grams of protein, 240 grams of carb, and 45 grams of fat per day to achieve a 1,600 calorie budget. And previously, based on her food diary, she finds out that she usually consumes 1,700 calories a day. So that is actually higher than the calorie budget she should aim for. And the breakdown of her current calorie content is 50 grams of protein, 150 grams of carb, and 100 grams of fat. So by comparing the numbers, Jane realizes she is not eating enough protein. And carbohydrate, in fact, is not the problem. She's eating way less carbohydrate than the health guideline. It is the fat from the oily food that she buys outside that is the biggest contributor. This was also my realization after doing my food diary. I always felt like I didn't eat that much, but I always found it hard to be in calorie deficit. Looking at my food diary made me realize how much calorie adds up from unsuspecting sources. For instance, a single plate of char kway teow can deliver close to 750 calories, almost half of our friend Jane's daily calorie budget. But the calorie from fat alone already accounts for 40%. Now let that sink in. And finally, let's move on to the last question of the day. What exercise or workout routine best help with weight loss for women? I'll say those of us who barely exercise, any exercise that gets you move more is a good start. With that being said, please prioritize resistance training in the weight loss journey. Why? Working your muscles to resist external forces at least 3 times a week signals to the body that your muscles are in demand. Please keep them strong. Having muscles is your ally, because more muscles help you burn more energy, even when you are not doing anything. That's a huge plus for getting into calorie deficit. They also act as the storage place for your glucose, so that the glucose from what you eat is less likely to be stored as fat. Without the signals from the training, your muscles tend to become collateral damage of your weight loss. And then, cardio exercise like running, cycling, swimming, high-intensity interval training act as powerful tools for fat loss as well. In many cases, a single cardio session can burn more energy than a single session of traditional lifting. Adding cardio exercises to our routine makes it easier to hit our calorie deficit goal, not to mention the numerous benefits that cardio exercises bring to our cardiovascular health. However, the caveat is, those of us whose BMI fall in the overweight or obese range, as well as those with existing joint issues, might want to consider exercises with lower impact, because running and jumping can put a lot of stress on our joints. In that case, swimming can be an excellent option. To summarize, prioritize resistance training at least 3 times a week in your weight loss journey, and adding on at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity cardio a week is going to get you really far. There you have it. 3 frequently asked questions among women on weight loss, answered by a certified personal trainer. If this episode helped you feel less confused about weight loss and more in control of your journey, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode of The Third Spring. Till we meet again, meanwhile, live well and pursue your why.